This is me on the plane ride to college. And this is me a few weeks later. This is me a couple days after that. And this is me as of today. So the question is, how can we have all this while still feeling like this? Hi, I'm Greta Long. I'm a freshman in college. And really, I don't know anything.
Hi guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. It's your girl Greta, back at it again with another video. I fully recognize that this lighting is not ideal. I really recognize that. Hear me out on this. I know it's not great. Hope you like the new mini mic setup. I'm a fan so far. I really did not think I was ever gonna make this video. I did not think that I was ever gonna be candid and honest about this kind of stuff on my YouTube channel. Frankly, God has just been putting it on my heart that I need to talk about this. Nothing's gonna come of it, but I want to be really honest about it and what the freshman experience is like at a college community, give you some advice for how freshman year can go and how it's gone for my first 6 weeks that I've been here. Even if this helps one person, that's enough for me. If it doesn't help anyone, okay, give me something to do on a Friday night. My first piece of advice when you're heading off to college, it's not going to be anything like high school. If you were the smartest in high school, you're not going to be the smartest person on campus. If you were the coolest person in high school, you're not going to be the coolest person on campus. If you were the dumbest person in high school, you're not going to be the dumbest person at college. I don't want to say college is a time to reinvent yourself. I think there's kind of a misconception that in college you need to completely change who you are. I think it's important to recognize that the stereotypes that you fit into in high school are not the stereotypes that you're going to fit into in college. I think it can be a tough pill to swallow, but I don't think that means it's bad. I think it's good to have that opportunity to really explore yourself more and get to know yourself deeper outside of the ways that you were in high school and outside of the boxes that you put yourself in or other people put yourself in. Really learn who you are and what your values are. Something that I haven't really talked about anywhere. I thought that I was going to come to college and be a Division III runner. I thought that was going to be who I was. I thought I was going to be an athlete. A few days into my college experience, I just knew running was something God meant for me to do in high school. It wasn't something that I was meant to carry into college. While that really broke my heart and made me sad, I knew that it wasn't going to be who I was in college. It's okay to have those mourning periods of things that you enjoyed to do that no longer can be qualified as your thing. Doesn't mean that it's a bad thing to give them up. My second piece of advice is that college can feel so lonely at times. You are in these spaces and a lot of people are going to act like they have best friends. Those are not the people that they're going to spend the rest of their lives with. Those are not the people that they're going to be friends with for all of eternity. And if it is, that is so great for them. Just because it's taking time for you to make friends doesn't necessarily mean you're unlovable and you don't have the personality skills that deem you worthy of having friends. Your worth is not determined by the amount of people that you're friends with, and your worth is not determined by how quickly people become your friend in college. Everyone has different times in which they're going to find their group, and sometimes it takes longer than others. Especially for me, I think as an introvert, it's been really difficult for me to find people who share the same values as me. But that's another thing, guys. Your friends don't need to have all of the same values as you, and it's important to meet people who have perspectives who are different than your own so you can learn how to communicate with them and really learn the true beauty of friendship. See, I sound like an inspirational movie quote, but this is so true. This is what college is like, is it's learning these things slowly but surely. And so I think my main piece of advice for that is just try not to be alone ever. And I recognize the irony of that. What am I doing right now? But sitting alone in this empty corridor filming this video. Especially if you're feeling homesick, really try not to be alone. Try to surround yourself with people. And guess what? They're not all going to be your friends. You're not going to like all of them. It's important to surround yourself with people so that you're not feeling that loneliness. I think being alone can lead to a deeper feeling of loneliness. So I think it's good, especially in your first few weeks of college, to avoid being alone. You're not going to meet people sitting in your dorm alone. It sounds obvious, but I think that's something that I needed a wake-up call with my first few weeks of college. I think the problem was that I was just really, really homesick, and I felt like no one else was really homesick. The truth is that everyone is homesick. You're all manifesting it in different ways. Because everyone is having a hard time doesn't make your hard any less hard. You're allowed to go through things that are hard, and you're allowed to recognize that they are hard. My biggest piece of advice for feeling homesick is really just to call home. Probably talk to my parents at least 2 to 3 times a week. Sometimes it's just a quick phone call. Sometimes it's a 2-hour cry session. I don't want this video to come across as I'm just depressed here. That's not the reality. But there are times when you're gonna call home to your parents crying. Everyone is homesick. The people who are admitting it are going to be better friends for you because they're more willing to be vulnerable with you. Going on that vein, when you've laid a foundation for vulnerability, talking about it is a really great thing. Don't bring it up to every single person that you interact with. I think I kind of had that problem for the first few weeks of college. People would ask me how I was doing. For the first few weeks, I would just lie and say oh, I'm great. No problems at all. I sort of flipped that on its head. People would ask me how I'm doing. I'd be I'm so homesick. I just want to go home. So just kind of learning to read the room on that is something that I needed to know. So I think I'm slowly learning that. I think you learn a lot in your first few weeks of college, but you don't necessarily know what to do with all that information. This is a really small thing, but try not to listen to sad music if you're feeling sad. I feel you can only only exacerbate your feelings, lead to more harm than good. I was listening to mostly Gracie Abrams when I first came to college. In my first video that I filmed at college, I talked about how I was being a really thought daughter. I think college has just turned me into like the biggest thought daughter in the world. All I do is think about everything, whether it's like the government, philosophy. I mean, like, look at my hat right now, like Claremont McKenna College philosophy department. What am I wearing? And that goes back to the idea of like not being alone. I think being alone with your thoughts your freshman year of college isn't great. And I think you can save that for when you're laying alone in your bed. I don't think you need to be doing that every second of the day. I think that's an unnecessary burden that you put on yourself. My next piece of advice is to just really get involved. This goes back to the idea of like choosing not to be alone. I think getting really involved is a good way to distract yourself from any negative feelings that you're having. Not that you're pushing those feelings away, but that you're just choosing to focus on the good rather than dwelling on the bad. The college that I go to, it's a really big application process to get into a lot of these clubs. Not everything that you do in college has to be pre-professional or for a career track. Getting involved is just being involved in the community. That's when things kind of started looking up for me. Getting meals with people, like just chatting with people after class. My best day of classes so far, we were debating affirmative action. About like 7 of us stayed after to continue talking about it. And I think that was probably like the most meaningful conversation that I've had with kids in my class. And it really got me connected with them more. And I'm happy that I was able to have that opportunity to chat with them, to get to know them more and more about their beliefs without having the pressure of trying to be myself and reinvent myself in college. It was really just talking about my opinions on political issues. But my last piece of advice is to really just like journal your thoughts and feelings. If you feel like you can't sit with your own thoughts anymore, I think the best thing to do is to write them down, because then you can choose to not dwell on it. Let sleeping dogs lie in your journal. This is the journal that I've had since the first week of college. I think it's been like 6 weeks. I've already filled 102 pages. As you can see, I've definitely had a lot of thoughts. I've definitely had a lot of feelings. And I think it's important to recognize your feelings without dwelling on them, because when we choose to dwell on our feelings, that is not going to be the best for us. And our feelings are so fickle. Our feelings do not define our circumstances. And I think that's something that I have to continually remind myself. So don't take this video as me being like, oh, I'm so perfect, I've figured everything out in college. It's simply not the case. But coming from a 6-week-in college freshman, I hope this can be beneficial to someone.
I'm literally editing this video right now. It's 9 a.m. and I'm conked out. But I realized something that I forgot to mention in this video. At our school's convocation, our class president spoke. She gave this like really awesome piece of advice. She said, you don't need more advice, you just need the courage to act on the advice that you've already been given. I think that's absolutely 100% true. So like if you've watched this whole video, you're probably like, oh, that's all great advice, but it's all stuff that I've heard before. And I guess my final piece of advice at that point is to just act on the advice that you've been given, whether it's my advice or from a different source.
Also, freshman flu is real. I'm so sick right now. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. See you next video. Thanks for hearing me out and letting me be candid.